I want to show you a very fine illustration of how this world has come into being via the imagination. And you see, the imagination, it is brought about somehow via our consciousness, and in small children it's immensely powerful. But the sad thing is that's happening today is that the imagination is being killed. But you see, if you look down here, then you can see that some child has brought something into the world. Because before this child sat down here and started to use and engage its imagination, there was just that. You see? And so some child sat down and looked at that and imagined what they could create out of that. And then via a little bit of thought, it made manifest into that. And I would imagine it was far more grand in its heyday. But weather is taking its toll upon it. And within a couple of days, it will be completely gone. So when you look then at the power of the imagination, you look around the world and you see that human imagination is responsible for creating every single thing that the human being has created. And the creation is born out of thought. And so it says in the book of John, in the New Testament, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was good, and the Word was God. And so, what is the Word? It's a thought. And it probably, literally said, in the beginning was a thought, and the thought was good, and the thought was God. Maybe it's been lost in translation. But you see, they knew thousands of years ago, it was thought that creates this world, people. Without thought, nothing is created. And when I say to people that I'm helping, think more expansively, think about all the wonderful positive things, or if there's nothing in your mind, if you can't think of anything because it's so narrow and so dull and so suppressed, then read books and go onto YouTube and just randomly, eclectically come upon stuff and listen to what they've got to say, and then all of a sudden within your mind too will be born imagination, and then maybe you will have a spark of imagination which then will encourage you to go and create via it. You see the power of the imagination, how imagination is king. And so, as the birds start to get settled down, I'm going to be walking back down here to greet this squawker. And I'm going to film the encounter so you can see how it is. And so, if I haven't made myself plain, and of course I always endeavour to do so, I just want to conclude this video. And what I want to say is that there would be nothing in existence if it wasn't for imagination. Now you can say to me that of course there would be these cliffs, and of course there would be trees and the beach you're standing on, Aaron, and the ocean. No, because what have we done to enable these things to become a reality? We've labelled them. We've coined terms for them. Because if we were caveman, we were standing here and we had very limited consciousness, we wouldn't have the facility to be able to label this. We wouldn't be able to say this is a sandstone cliff of a certain breadth and a certain height and a certain solidity and consistency and any number of things, because they wouldn't have had the intellect and the imagination to ask more questions, you see. Like quantum physicists, when they ask more and more questions, then the universe gives them more answers or more questions. And so, when we look at limited people who are very, very limited as far as imagination goes, then you can see that their world is tiny in comparison to somebody whose imagination is so expansive. Now then, there was this physicist who was a very, very popular one. It's called Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman, he was this really charismatic physicist who was a university lecturer, and he used to get really excited and animated when he was talking, because he had this variety of mind that would just see so much more depth to the world than the vast majority of people would. And so everywhere he went, all of a sudden his mind would start cogitating, and he would start imagining this and imagining that and quantifying this and quantifying that and asking questions, what if this and what if that, and all this stuff. Beautiful. And so, what can we say then? In the last few words of conclusion, if at all possible, people, try to nurture your imagination. Try to allow that to flourish. Because when your imagination flourishes, your life flourishes. Because you are your imagination. If you allow society and people around you to close down your imagination, say stop dreaming, or you come into the real world, hang on, there's no real world. What are you talking about, coming to the real world? You see, these people that say that are these people with a very, very closed parameter of thinking. Next time anybody says that to you, stop dreaming, come into the real world, go, you haven't got a clue what this life's about. You know, you want to go and look at a bit of quantum physics, and then you'll know that there's no real world. You're just so deeply immersed in the illusion, my friend. And so this is how it is. So the more we imagine, the more expansive our minds become, and the more possibility. You see, it seems like our imagination is the proverbial flowing of probability. Because when we start to put pieces together in our minds, what we're actually doing is we're collapsing the wave function, and we are building ourselves, aren't we? And so, like that child building that sandcastle, where did that come from? It's interesting, isn't it? So, let's go and have a look at these birds.